Israel has asked millions of Palestinians to leave Rafah as it intensifies military operations in southern Gaza. Israel has claimed it has evidence of increased activities of Hamas in these areas as it refuses to back down on a full-blown assault on Rafah despite international pressure. Take a look at our next report.
Smoke rises over Rafah on Saturday as Israel calls for Palestinians to evacuate and head to what it calls an expanded humanitarian area in Al-Mawasi. It's a further indication that the military is pressing ahead with its plans for a ground attack on Gaza's southern city. That's despite heavy US pressure and alarm expressed by residents and humanitarian groups. In a post on social media site X, a military spokesperson called on residents and displaced people in 12 neighborhoods in the enclave to go immediately to the shelters west of Gaza City.
We have to evacuate. We have no choice. If I stay, I will die. Either death or displacement. This is the strategy of displacement.
We received a message instructing us to evacuate immediately. We are afraid. We will have to evacuate like the rest of the people. But we did not find a car because there is a transportation crisis. It has been 2 days waiting for a car to pick us up, but we have not found a car yet.
He told Reuters he doesn't have a tent as they were all distributed yesterday, nor does he have cash to get a vehicle to move his belongings. These evacuations follow overnight Israeli jet strikes across the enclave. Israel's military said it was continuing precise operational activity against Hamas fighters in eastern Rafah and on the Gazan side of the Rafah crossing.
So far, we have eliminated dozens of militants in the East Rafah area. We found a significant underground route and many means of combat. This morning, we adjusted a temporary evacuation of the population for a number of additional neighborhoods in East Rafah, which are close to the fighting area.
On Friday, Israeli tanks captured the main roads dividing Rafah's eastern and western sections, effectively encircling the eastern side in an assault that has caused Washington to hold up delivery of some military aid to its ally. The latest evacuation orders came hours after internationally mediated ceasefire talks appeared to falter, with Hamas saying Israel's rejection of the truce offer returned things to square one. Israel says it wants to reach a deal under which hostages would be released in exchange for the freeing of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, but that it is not prepared to end the military offensive which was triggered by a Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on October 7th. 1,200 people were killed and more than 250 people were taken hostage in the attack, according to Israeli tallies. Israel's military operation in Gaza, which it says aims to eliminate Hamas, has killed close to 35,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry.
And for more on this, we are being joined by Professor James A. Russell, Associate Professor in the Department of National Security Affairs at Naval Postgraduate School. He's joining us live from Montreal. Professor James, thank you for joining us on the broadcast.
Thank you.
We're anticipating a full-blown Israeli offensive. We are seeing a worsening situation on ground in Rafah with thousands of Palestinians there being asked to evacuate. How do you see the situation panning on the ground right now?
Well, the situation on the ground right now, I think, as you have explained clearly to your viewers, is that we can expect the body count to steadily go up. There are going to be innocent civilians caught in the crossfire, as has been the case since this war started several months ago. The offensive in Rafah places Israel on a collision course with its principal benefactor, the United States. They have finally pushed the Biden administration, I think, to a point of sort of no return. The Biden administration has now requested that they not undertake the offensive. President Biden has said, we're going to hold up deliveries of your bombs, and Israel is proceeding. So this is going to force some kind of crisis in the American-U.S. The U.S.-Israeli relationship, and a lot more innocent civilians are going to be killed.
Professor, as you rightly pointed out, we are seeing an overwhelming support for Palestine cause. in the United Nations. You know, what's at stake for Israel here as it goes ahead with its offensive in Rafah? Hamas has just said one hostage has died as protests intensify in Israel as well.
Well, I think we have to kind of take a step back and ask ourselves, what are the objectives that the sides are pursuing in the war? And these objectives are irreconcilable, which is to say that on Hamas's case, so Hamas launched the war, I think, to gain global political attention to the plight of the Palestinians. And they have done this, but it has been at a terrible cost. The physical infrastructure throughout Gaza has been destroyed. Over 100,000 Palestinians are either killed or wounded. So they've paid an enormous cost for this. In Israel's case, it seeks to eliminate any political opposition that faces in the Palestinian community. And it seeks to eliminate that opposition, and so it can be free to colonize Gaza and continue its overall policy of coercive colonization, both on the West Bank and Gaza. So from the point of view of Israel, its costs, right, are, it seems to me, the American relationship, and certainly its relationship to the international community. The international community is overwhelmingly aligned against Israel, and now they have forced the most pro-Israel president, right, in recent memory, into a corner. He has repeatedly warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to restrain Israeli military operations, and also has been the case over these last several months. Netanyahu has refused any of these entreaties. And now, of course, we are at this point in the U.S.-Israeli relationship where Israel is going to press ahead with the offensive in Rafah, despite U.S. requests specifically not to do this. And we are at this crisis point in the U.S.-Israeli relationship. And we're also at a crisis point, I might add, for those hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees who are stuck in Rafah and have been told to evacuate to some new refugee camp. So it's a terrible, absolutely terrible situation. Yeah.
Professor James, thank you for joining us on the broadcast to give us your insight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.